Start.
Stay in the corner then.
So we're a couple of months, or about a month and a half, actually, really now out from your next fight. What can you tell me about the matchup and why you're excited about it?
I'm more excited about it because I have a new gym, new team that I've been working with. The fight itself, predominantly, I've never lost to a boxer, so that always helps. So those are my big things that I'm, looking forward to.
You've been pretty active. I mean, this will be your fourth fight this year. How has being that active helped you grow as a fighter?
I don't know if it's helped me grow because the last 3 fights have been losses, but I do like the short notice fights, and I like being ready for a fight, and I like fighting. So I prefer having something scheduled. I hate waiting long periods of time of uncertainty. But the downside is when I want to fight, it's like, okay, I'll start like, okay, I'm feeling, I want to fight. Let's get a fight. And they're like, and I'm thinking maybe we'll get camp or something. They're like, oh, no, you're fighting next week. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I don't get as much time to like fix certain things or work on certain things. So.
Are you happy with the timetable of how this has turned out? I mean, it'll be late October, right there close to the end of the year.
Yeah, no, that works out perfectly. And if I win, if I leave unscathed, I can maybe get back to training as soon as possible, and that will open up the door for maybe one more fight at the end of the year.
Since you've been in the UFC, what part of your skill set do you think has improved the most?
To be honest, I don't know. Kind of switching gyms, I've seen a lot more holes in my games than anything that's improved. I think maybe my wrestling's improved, but again, some of the stuff that I would want to do in some of these fights have not shown up due to the fact that, again, my previous team just didn't have like the know-how to get me to point A to point B.
So how long have you been with your new team?
Literally maybe 2 weeks after my last fight. Well, one of my coaches that I was training with, he was like, "Hey, he goes, what do I need to do to make you leave this gym?" He goes, "I want you to succeed. I want you to do good, but you are kind of in that spot where if you don't win another fight, you're getting kicked out, this and that." So I'm just like, all right, I need to go turn things around, and I figured I'd just suck it up to drive and train at Kings.
Has there been any specific skill that you've worked on for this specific fight that you have coming up?
No, I've tightened up things, but that's kind of about it.
What's been your favorite part of getting ready for this fight and what you've done so far?
Honestly, it's just kind of being around the new environment of training, and like it's kind of made me really enjoy the sport again. I really kind of like being a business owner. Has kind of made me really detest fighting a lot, because I see a lot of people just act like it's easy and stuff like that. And I'm juggling training and teaching and coaching full time, and it's bitten me in the ass and whatnot. So for me to actually kind of really enjoy it again is nice.
You've had some names that are real veterans stand across from you, even this year alone. Which one of those fights would you say was the toughest?
That one is hard because Olenek, he was tough and his grappling price was high level. But on the flip side, I have Orlovsky, who's a former world champion and all that stuff, who has, the abilities to just do things that he's able to dig deep, and he knows how to do so in a proper way that I think I have not come across with some of the younger crowds.
I saw that video of Olenek teaching you the hold after the fight in Jacksonville. Do you plan on trying to work that into maybe your training or in a future fight?
I do it in training. I just don't see myself doing it for a future fight. I actually, if anything, I do use the submission that he used against me, the Scarfold choke, more so than the Nogi Ezekiel. Even having long arms, I find it very problemsome of getting that choke in. Even though I do it in practice, it is fun to do, but I don't see myself doing it in other, like, I don't see myself becoming the next Olenek.
Uh, I usually ask this question, and I think it's pretty good response wise of what I get from the different experiences people have had. And you have fought in the two different octagons, the 25-footer at the Apex and the full on one in front of the big crowd. And obviously one's bigger. So what sort of differences and adjustments have you noticed between the two?
Well, I haven't really had to fight any like full on wrestlers. I think the smaller cage actually is more beneficial for wrestlers. So like when I fought Romanov, I do think that cage was more beneficial to him. I actually think that might be one of the reasons why he lost against Ty Burrow. That's just hypothetical, because Romanov was there. He took a half shot. We cleared the whole thing, and we were already on the fence. The bigger ones, you actually have to get in and shoot. Excuse me. So I do think for fighting wrestlers, the bigger one might be a little bit more favorable. If you are a wrestler, the smaller one, because it's easier to take someone down.
I know he did lose to Marcin, but do you buy the Romanov hype? There's been a lot of hype around him. Do you think that's legit?
Yeah, kind of like like I can make excuses on why I lost. I could be like, I had my daughter literally like 6 weeks before the fight. My training was all wild whack. I was in the hospital in and out because of my daughter. To make all these excuses, but he is a decent wrestler, and I think he did pretty well against Spino to show that he's a good grappler. But I think Spino also showed a lot of holes. Now the whole nutshot thing, yeah, that's where I think it definitely lost some steam. And then his fight against Chase doesn't really, like, I wouldn't say be like hype, but I wanted to see him do something against like Ty Burrow, which was kind of a weird one because I saw him training in fucking Thailand. But I mean, he definitely had different plans for how that fight was supposed to go, and I mean, I can't knock him for that. And so I mean, the hype, he's a good wrestler. His freestyle wrestling is top tier. To sit there and say that's not something that's formidable would be foolish, but to sit there and act and I think him training in Thailand was a smart move to get better striking and stuff like that. I think that's what he needs to do, but he needs to make sure he keeps doing stuff like that, because I think he's going to have harder run-ins with like the Curtis Blades, Tom Aspinalls of the heavyweight division.
We're in the full swing of the Contender Series season. They got the 17-year-old kid fighting tomorrow night. Can you talk me through your experience on that show?
I think it's definitely different from like this year and then when I did it, because when I did it, it was just cameras and my coaches. I literally heard every click of a camera, versus like now you can actually hear people talking, crowd, like even the small crowds, you can just hear everything. Now with this upcoming fight, I don't know. Like I have no clue how it's going to go down, because one, I like I see that like my friend Jamal who fought this year and got signed to the UFC. I saw that he had family in the ring and watching him fight. So like I can't give you a good comparison because again he had a different experience than I did. I do think I think having the slight crowds would be beneficial for him.
Did you think that experience kind of prepared you for your first couple fights in the UFC that were in the Apex? Maybe you were just a little bit more comfortable having already won there.
A little bit. I do feel a little bit more comfortable there, and dealing with people like staff that like take some of the nerves away when you are more familiar with everybody. But I, for me, I think if I had the fight as early as I wanted to without the COVID thing, I would have done good. But because I had the COVID thing, that kind of really set me back.
Do you have a dream opponent, and who is it?
Well,
If
all
so,
right. Give me half a second. I'm sorry. Well,
okay.
what do you guys need? A swab or later? Sorry about that. Swab. We have gauze. We have a lot of gauze. The Q-tip work? All right. You want Band-Aid?
Could I just spray the alcohol?
Yes. I didn't want to. I don't want to be.
No, no, no.
I didn't want to be that. Yeah, but you don't get sick. Hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Look it! Look it! Look it! It's just a flesh wound. It tingles. See, are you dead?
No.
If you touched it once, you'll be fine the second time. You guys want a Band-Aid? You're fine. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Oh, I was asking, do you have a dream opponent, and if so, who is it?
It was Orlowski, so I've kind of checked that one down. The only other person at this point would be Overeem.
How would you see that fight playing out?
I don't know, because I could see myself knocking him out, but Overeem being Overeem, he's overcome some challenges, and he could possibly knock me out. But it's Overeem, so it'd be a dream fight for me.
Is there anybody maybe in any of the lower weight classes that you're a big fan of?
A big fan of one of them that I was always a fan of, King Rio. He just retired yesterday, so I wanted to see him fight live. Let's see. Outside of that, like some of the smaller weight guys, I just don't really see myself falling too much. I think Dan Hooker is one of my. I like watching Dan Hooker fight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one.
So I would go Dan Hooker, and I mean, I'm trying to avoid people that are my friends, like people I know personally, like Chris Curtis. Fucking, I always tune in when my boy fights, but I've known him for ages. Same with Strickland. Known him for a minute. So I mean, those guys I'm trying to avoid because I do know him personally. So yeah.
Well, last thing for me, do you have a favorite out of your own fights so far, and what is it?
Honestly, I would say Orlowski. That one is etched in my brain. Just because that's a surreal moment for me as a fighter to actually fight him. I would say my UFC one. My past ones, I would say either my fight with Andrew Von Zyl was a good one. And I think maybe Vernon Lewis, that was another fun fight. And honestly, the fights that I named were actually losses, not wins. So, but they were fun fights. So I don't like. I thought they were fun, and I thought people might enjoy them.
Well, that wraps up what I had for you on this interview. I appreciate you doing this and all your flexibility with scheduling and everything. And I wish you the best of luck on this upcoming fight, man.
Thank you, and likewise. I mean, I know that we were supposed to do it earlier, and I don't know what the hell happened. I actually set my alarm for not like I was talking to someone at the PI that I had scheduled for at like 2. So I set him and you in, and I have not got a notification about it at all today. So I'm like, fuck. So I'm glad that we were able to work this in.
Absolutely, yeah, stuff happens, and yeah, again, best of luck. I'll be tuning in, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you, man.